Hey, everybody. Good evening. This is Robert Phoenix broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas, once again for Sunday Night Astro Live. And it is the 15th of March, also known as the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March, for they are upon you. And of course, that is in reference to the Shakespearean play Julius Caesar, in which Caesar is quite ceremoniously, in some ways, stabbed by the Roman Senate, and including his best friend Brutus, right? Brutus, et tu, Brute. So interesting day, mythically. Interesting times we're living in. Happy birthday, Mom. I know you never watch my show. I don't hold that against you. I completely understand why. But I love you nonetheless, and happy birthday. And congratulations for surviving another year on this plane of existence, which is becoming more and more surreal with every passing day. So, hats off, and thanks for everything you've done and continue to do for people. Just to give you an insight into my mother, uh, she uh, she can't go to church, so it's kind of a big deal for her. So she did manage to go to church yesterday and be part of a YouTube service. So they did a virtual church today, and she was one of 30 people, since her community will allow 50 people or less. Which I don't really understand the role, the law or the rule, right? Because all it takes is one or two people to kind of. I get it. You limit the contact and you limit the social distancing and the potential for spreading, but still, there's always wild cards and X factors, whether they're four or five or 50 or 100. But but that gives you kind of the lay of the land now, is that there is and are going to be very powerful limitations on our activity and what we can do and what we can't do, especially if you're over a certain age. I'm going to talk a lot about that tonight. I'm going to talk a lot about where we are politically, where we are socially, where we are mythically, where we are energetically, where we are certainly astrologically. Some of you may not agree with what I have to say. Some of you might. At this point, it's great if you agree. If you don't agree, it's okay too. That's fine too. And one of the things that I've been finding is that there tends to be a great deal of, not a great deal. Let me rephrase that. I think there is a large amount of frustration and fear circulating now in the environment. I'll tell you who is not frustrated and who has absolutely no fear. It's this guy right here. It's this guy right here. He has absolutely no fear and no frustration. Come on, Jasper, give it up, buddy. There he is, the Astro Cat. Astro Cat Cam, right there. Right there. Jasper the man. Should we play the song? Shall we play the song? Have everybody just be in the really good mood. Start the show off in a really happy and upbeat and positive. Just such a so positive kind of tone and vibe. Here we go. Hold on. Yes, I'm getting your song ready, and I'll be able to hear it, but you won't. And that's okay. You don't need to hear your song. You've heard it many times. One of the few animals on the internet that actually has his or her own song. So without further ado, here we go.
Jasper, the astrological cat. Look up your chart, show you right where you're at. It's Jasper, the astrological cat.
All right. Let's just stick that earworm right where it belongs. All right. So yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna break shit down tonight. And like I said, it's been quite interesting gauging people's responses around around the current situation. Let's put it that way. All right, let me check in with CL, the old Chatlandia. Let's see, who do we got in the house? There's Ida and there's Cheeky. Hey, what's going on, Scoobs? And there's our good friend from Fifth Wall Radio. Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you. Judy and FUP77. There's my man, Steve. What's going on, Steve? Eagle ZXZ. Wherever afternoon is for you, Eagle, good afternoon. Hey, there's Kathy, my friend Kathy. There's Joan and Brilla Samay. Oh, thank you. Hugs back. Right on. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love that. Let's see. There's Beth. Hi, Beth. There's my girl, Lynette, from up in Oregon reporting in. Say hi to the roomie. There's Dawn. Hey, Dawn. Nice to see you. Donna777. It would have been my dad's birthday. Oh, Donna. Well, it's still your dad's birthday. He's just not here to celebrate it. You can celebrate it with him. Let's see. What do we got there? There's Triple M. Hey, what's happening? There's Justice from Down Under. What's going on, Justice? And let's see, Liz Luscious, another Down Under folk. What's going on, Liz? Nice to see you. And implemented 14-day self-isolation. All right. That's happening. And let's see, what else do we have? Let me just do this here. That way I can do that. Triple M, I'm a cap. And the love's overwhelming. Oh, good. I thought you said you were a cat. Hey, there's my man, Rob. What's going on, Rob? Nice to see you. And Billy Blue. And let's see what else. There's Miranda and Phoebe and Sandy and Marlene. Hey, what's going on? I got an MP3 coming your way, Marlene. Hang in there. I promise I'll get it to you tonight. Dawn says Fed just dropped their rate to 0. Absolutely. Wait till we go into minus. They're going to go into minus rates. And when they go into minus rates, people, you better hang on to your seats. Let's see. Hey, there's BB. Hi, BB. I was thinking about you the other day. And there's our good friend, Lynn. Hi, Lynn. Nice to see you. 0 interest rates. Yep, absolutely. It's there. JMP Love. The Fed is going down in flames. And there's Tamara. Hi, Tamara. Boy, what a packed hall we have tonight in Chatlandia. Isn't that right, Jasper? Isn't that right? You anything you want to say to anybody? You any meows of wisdom you want to share tonight? Oh, he's being a good cat. He's being a really good cat. Hey, had a visitor here in Fred today. It's always nice when a client comes by, or longtime client, and has lunch from the virtual to go real. Always a wonderful thing. And that was kind of a cool experience. Get out of the cave. I've been self quarantining now for about 2 years. I mean, I've got my social distancing down like a charm. I really do. I spend most of my time here either doing shows or working with people or doing admin work. And my time out is basically to the gym or to HEB. So I'm okay. I'm okay with the social distancing and the quarantine, the self. I've been training. I've been training all my life for this moment, and I believe that actually. I'm not sure what that says about me. I did a show yesterday with Jay Widener over on Reality Check, and I thought it was a really good show. I mean, Jay and I have. We've got good chemistry. It's so interesting, because Jay and Regina are two opposite signs. Regina is a Scorpio and Jay's a Taurus. But yet I get on well with each of them, and I have interesting chemistry, but it's different with both Regina and Jay. Jay reached out on Friday and wanted to do a show, and like, okay, I'm good, I'm game. And that came off the heels of a kind of a deep Friday night with about almost 2 hours of Fox News and coronavirus info, and I had a lot of realizations actually. And some of them are, well, I don't know. It's like some of it's popular and some of it's not. And I'm not really in a popularity contest. If I was, I would have approached astrology a lot more differently than I do as a rule of thumb. If I had been if I'd been, let's just say, a little more progressive in my beliefs and in my interpretations of things, I'd probably have a lot more clients. Let's put it that way. But that's not the case. Anyway, some of the things that I have been sharing have not been too popular, but it's really interesting because it all depends on kind of where you are and how things are hitting you. It's a very, very subjective reality in a lot of ways. So let's say, for instance, I really got into Virgo mode and wanted to give you all kinds of like super, 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 super practical stuff, right? Let's say I did that. We got a major lag tonight on the YouTube side of things. It's interesting. But let's say I did that, and let's say I was just, and Virgo, the practicality of Virgo tends to be very, how do I say this? Pretty nuts and bolts. It's a lot of, how to do, what to do, what it looks like, things like that. It's just very, very cut and dry in a lot of ways, pretty black and white. Some people would say, "Oh, gee, that's great. You're giving us all these theoretical things to do, but you're not giving us any kind of hope or energy or spirit." And it's like, oh, okay. So then when I go into the hope and the energy and the spirit mode, people will say, "Well, you didn't do anything practical. You didn't give us any practical information." So a lot of it depends on kind of where you are and how things are hitting you. And if you feel really unprepared, and it's sort of like, I'll give you an example. Long time ago, I had an astrocartography reading, and it was by this guy. I think his name is Jim Lewis, who is the guy that created the program. It was in Seattle, and he did a thing for me, and because I was really miserable and I was really unhappy, and he was a really nice guy, super super nice guy. And I sat there and I did the reading, and I thought it was okay, and that there was some, but it didn't hit my instant gratification switch. So I was disappointed, and I look back on that time, and I even wrote him, I think, an email I didn't have email back then, so I must have written him a letter, or I must have faxed it to him or something. I don't know what I did, but I voiced my displeasure over the fact that he couldn't solve my problem. And you know what? That wasn't his job to solve my problem. And I've often thought about that moment and wished I had done something different, because from my perspective now, he was nothing but kind and generous, and he didn't design. I wasn't mean or anything, but he didn't deserve the kind of analysis and criticism that I dished out. So during that time, during my Saturn return, which was in Seattle, Washington, it was horrific. I was having a horrific Saturn return, and nothing could have saved me. I mean, nothing could have saved me. I was just too invested, too sunken, too down, too much. I was too sucked into the gravitational hole of my Saturn return. And even when I got a pretty good break every now and, like, I got published for the first time in my life in Seattle for Pacific Northwest magazine. It was a really good article on real estate, and I kind of knocked it out of the park. And that was my first, publishing check and everything. And I was waiting on tables, and even then, I couldn't appreciate the fact that I had just done this thing, and it was a really not everybody could do that. Not everybody could get published. Nobody could have get a check from it. And it was like, okay, well, here's my step up, right? This is what I can begin to do. And it just wasn't enough, right? So I think now we're in a time where, for certain people, because the void is so deep and so wide in some cases that no matter what is said, no matter what kind of practical solution or what kind of theoretical, spiritual, or energetic solution there is, it's not enough. It won't be enough. But that doesn't stop me, nor should it stop you from being able to do what you do in order to make a difference in your life and the lives of other people, right? So I'm going to talk about that tonight as Jasper is, Jasper's stalking me. He's stalking me. Jasper, you want to give them just a little bit more of your beautiful face? This has got to be one of the most handsome cats I've ever seen. Look at this guy. Look at him. How handsome is he? He's Mr. Look at that. Yeah. He's got a little bit of a sneer tonight. He's got that little Elvis thing going on. Yeah, he knows he's being on. Look at that. Yeah. You're a good dude. Totally good dude. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about that tonight. And I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do is, I thought about this, is I'm going to go around the chart with each sign. Each sign, I'm going to give each sign some practical shit that you can do for where we are. All right. That's my piece. That's going to be a lot. I mean, I'm going to do more, obviously, but I thought about it and I thought, okay, let's figure out how each sign can theoretically respond to the tenor of the times. And Jasper's about ready to. Are you getting down or what? What's your story? What's your story, Tiger Boy? Are you getting down? Coming over here? What are you doing? Come on, there you go. I made some space for you. You can go over there if you want. You want to get down here? He wants to get down. Here, you want the chair? Come on. There you go. They're right there. Right there. There's the ladder. There's the escape hatch. What? I got it right there. It's right there. Okay. He just wants more attention. So I'll give you an example. A couple nights ago I was on Facebook and I put out a post and it was basically detailing some of the real flashpoints around this corona thing and who the people were, what the entities were, where they were located, and basically it was compiling a profile of these corona variables, and each one of them just smacked of institutions, people, and places that tended to be democratic or progressive, or referencing places like Washington State or Oregon or California or New York, these bastions and strongholds of progressive political thought. And then, of course, you had the stars who are all coming down with so-called corona. And that was part of it. And where are they located? They're in Hollywood. And who do they usually represent? Well, we know who they usually represent. And then, of course, the professional sports leagues. And so it was just a mention. It was like putting these two things together, or these number of things together. And then what happened was that this guy really came after me on Facebook. And he said, you're just spreading fear. You're not providing anything for people. You're just not providing anything for people. And I'm like, do you really even know me? do you know what I've been doing for the past 2 years, or at least the past year and a half on this show or on these various other shows? What I've been telling people? What have I been telling you? What have I been telling you for the last year and a half? I've been saying you got to take care of your body. You've got to get your health right. That was a big thing, wasn't it? So you got to get your health right. You got to take care of your house. That means that you've got to take care of your material stuff. You got to take care of your material stuff. This is the way it is. However you need to do it. Your material stuff is, what you put in your body, the foods you put in the body, the supplements you put in your body. The material stuff is your ability to have some resources in your life. I've been preaching this now for a year and a half. So it's not like I haven't been sharing practical solutions to people. That's all I've been doing for the past year and a half. Some people are like, well, we need more woo. We need more woo. Well, I got some woo. I'll break out some of the woo tonight as well. But I've been talking practical solutions now for a year and a half. And even yesterday on Jay's program, some guy comes in and slings a comment on Jay and I, and he says, "Oh, I was hoping to come here and find some practical solutions." And all I got was these two guys who have enough money and enough goods to write this thing. He called us boomers in the derogatory sense. And that's all. Well, first of all, he doesn't know anything about me. He doesn't know anything about Jay. Right? He doesn't know anything about either of us. And what if he'd been listening to me for the past year and a half, which he probably has, but that's okay. I won't hold that against him. That he would have thought, hey, shit, I better get my shit together. And maybe I should really listen to this guy. And or it doesn't even have to be me, for crying out loud. I'm not even trying to make me the central or foci here. But it's like if somebody else would say, hey, listen, man, you got to get your shit together. How much money do you have? How much is in your bank account? What can you do? How's your health? Because these are times that are fairly unstable. I mean, just look at the current political climate for the past 3 years. We've had a government under siege. And you think you can bank on that as an individual? There's no way. So you look around and you go, well, there's a whole fuck of a lot of chaos going on here right now. I better make sure my shit's together. And you do what you do, whatever you can do. And sometimes it's not easy. We all have challenges. To tackle with this stuff. But if you take in, 18 months to kind of get your shit together, you wouldn't be running around being pissed off for not having practical solutions. Just like when I went back to Jim Lewis and bitched at Jim Lewis because he couldn't solve my problem. My problem was not going to be solved by Jim Lewis, and it wasn't going to be solved by his rendering of his astrocartography. And maybe, just maybe, it might have been if I had been really present and had the ears to listen. It's never too late, by the way. Could always open it up. But we have to be responsible for ourselves. We can't, that kind of thinking is just, it's not gonna see you through at all. And that doesn't mean that you completely isolate, because there's another part of this. We're going to get into this tonight astrologically, because I talked about it with Jay, and I'm going to kind of, build it out a little bit more. But the practical equation is keeping your shit together, right? And being aware. Be aware. It's like when I saw the NBA close up shop on Wednesday, I knew that the rest of the world was going to panic. So what did I do? I went to HEB at 11 o'clock that night, and I shopped. And I've been shopping, and I've been accumulating some things for the last month and a half. You don't have to go run out and buy $15,000 worth of hand sanitizer like that guy in Tennessee, who, by the way, had it all confiscated. How about that? They confiscated his hand. I'll show. Maybe I'll show you the article. Anyway, it wasn't like I just rolled out and said, "Hey, oh yeah, I've got like $1,500. I can splurge on trying to buy some stuff and just go do it now." No, I had some level of awareness, just like a lot of you have had your own level of awareness, so that you can go through and do what you need to do without feeling like you're going to be trampled by the herd. So Wednesday night, I just listened to my voice and said, go do this, go get it done. I went out and I just took care of some business. And lo and behold, on Thursday morning, all hell broke loose. Like, you can't get a roll of toilet paper in this town now. You just can't. Not that I'm looking to buy toilet paper, but the shelves started to get cleared out. They were just starting to get cleared out, and even like some of the meat products and things like that. But so it's like you got to be on the ball, man. This is not a time where you can't be on the ball, and you can't have other people solve your problems. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. So that's the practical side of things. It's like, what do I need? What do I need? How am I going to get through this? You look at yourself, you say, well, these are my habits, these are my patterns, these are the things that are really important to me. So one of the things that's been really important to me is working out. I like working out. It's become a big part of my life. So I know that there's a chance that my gym is going to get shut down, just like there's probably going to be a shutdown across the board with a lot of things. There already are. And now every state is going to be different, at least according to Trump. And Texas is a little bit different than other states. Some things it's actually, how do I say this? Some things is actually pretty libertarian. It's like they let people kind of live here in some ways. And in other ways, it's like super hands-on, daddy state, parent state, super hands-on, super authoritarian. It's an interesting blend between both of those kinds of realities or dichotomies. They let people kind of live here in Texas in some ways, but there's other parts of the state where they're like they will take control of shit. And I don't want to get into it too much, but trust me, that is the case. So the individual states are going to be running their own programs for the most part. If you are not paying attention, the state of Pennsylvania has decided that they're going to close all the liquor stores. Ohio has decided to close all restaurants and bars. I believe Illinois has followed suit. So they're just going to shut everything down. You're not going to be able to go out. You're not going to be able to hang out. And there's really nothing on TV, recreation-wise, to be able to distract you. Like you can't go to those places you normally would go to a bar or a sports bar and you'd watch March Madness. That's all gone now. So essentially, they just keep making the square, not even the circle. They're making the square tighter and tighter and tighter. We'll talk about that. But you must be able to take care of your business. So I like working out. But I don't want to lose my gym. I want to be able to continue to work out. And I live in an area with very limited space. So what did I do? I sold my little dining room table because usually it's just me here with the two cats. And I sold it. I never use it. I got $100 for it. So what did I do? I went out and I found a bench, to lift some weights with. And you know what I did? I found it 2 days ago, and I was looking for one, and I just went to the right place. It was a secondhand store, and there it was. I just walked on. It was just there. So now I had the opportunity to bring this thing home in a space that I had cleared out. Right now, and then I went out and I bought a few bars, some weights to create dumbbells with, and now I've got a little gym. So I can stay fit for the next 14 or 21 days. So my body doesn't turn to mush, which I have vowed it will never do again. But you see what I mean? I took care of the fact that this is what I needed. And there's other instances. And I was looking for a water barrel just to, have some extra water around. And I kept it in my head and knew exactly what I was looking for. And boom, Saturday, I rolled into a place and there it was. I found it. And it was cheaper than other places that I'd looked, and even online would deliver the barrel to my house. Right? See, this is the woo part. And this is where the practical thing comes together with the magical thing. Okay. This is how it works. It's very simple, folks. It is not rocket science. And I talked with Alex Kazemi, and a lot of you had very, very positive feedback around Alex, although I do think I lost one subscriber over that interview, which pains me a little bit, but that's okay. And I'm not going to assume it was the interview. It might have just been, time for that person to check out, and that's fine. That's fine. But it was interesting. It was happened on the heels of that, and I think Alex is probably not everybody's cup of tea, because he hangs out with Marilyn Manson and he has some different kinds of ideas about manifestation. But I wanted to pick his brain. I wanted to talk about millennials and talk about his ability to kind of manifest things in his life. And I think that that's kind of an important piece here, right? We need to be able to manifest things. So it's real simple. It's real simple. You know what you need. You know what you want. You know what's important. Like I wasn't looking to go run out and get a 30 foot Airstream. I mean, that was not what I was looking for. And that would have been out of the realm of some level of possibility for me. But it was like, okay, this is important. I need this and I need this and I need this. And I held the intention, and then there it was. It showed up. You see, that's how it works. And people say, well, you don't provide anything practical. I need something practical. Well, the practical piece is figure out what you need. Just figure it out. Don't look at it and say, oh my God, this is the Mount Etna that I've got to climb in order to get there. To get this thing, it's not that hard. It's not that hard, and especially if it's about the quality of your life and enhancing the quality of your life. You just hold the space for it, and there it is. Boom. And this is going to be a time where I think, that stuff happened really easily for me. And this is a time where I feel like we can have things like that happen easily for us. Trust me. And I'll get into the astrology of it. So if you want something practical for right now, to how to get through this time, and I'll get you the big picture stuff here in a minute, is number one, you've got to be in the moment and in the now. And again, we've been talking about this for about a year and a half now, right? And I said, you got to get it together. You've got to get it together. You've got to get it together, that we're entering a time of reckoning, that we're entering a time of revelation. And sure enough, here it is. It's upon us. At the beginning of the year, I did it was just before the beginning of the year. And I did a talk at the Austin Astrological Society. And the first thing I did is I went up to the blackboard and I wrote the word time on the blackboard and I circled it. And I started talking about Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter and then the South Node. And I said, we're running out of time. We're running out of time. And I actually used the example of getting up when you get up during the day, like the first part of your day, and you get up and you do everything you need to do. You get to the end of the day and it's like, where did the day go? Where did that time go? And I asked people if they experienced that, and to a person, they raised their hands. And I said, you know why that is? And they said, silence. I said, it's because we're running out of time. Time as we know it is ending. This age is ending. As we approach Saturn in Aquarius, we're here. It's at the end of Pisces. So we're going to be exiting the sign of Pisces as we head towards the spring equinox, right? This is what's going to happen. I'm sorry. The spring equinox. Yes. Yeah. So as we head towards the spring equinox in the final days of Pisces, we're headed towards Saturn and Aquarius, which is something. This is it. I mean, this is the Piscean age. The end of it is upon us. And whatever this Aquarian thing is going to be defined pretty damn quickly. And by the time we roll around to December, when we have the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, I think there's a very good chance we'll be living in a vastly different social reality. So this is it. This is the end of the age. And it's not a bad thing. It's really not a bad thing. It could be a really good thing. It all depends on what you're looking for. It all depends on what your expectations are. But I can tell you right now, I've never seen anything in my life like this. And I've been around almost 60 years. I've lived through some stuff. I watched the Vietnam War as a kid on my TV. I lived within hailing distance of San Francisco as a child during the Summer of Love. I felt those vibrations very, very strongly. I wound up watching Nixon go through the Watergate trial and absolutely crush and demoralize me as a young American. I went through the gas and the oil crisis of the 70s. Went through the disaster in Iran with the hostages and Jimmy Carter. I mean, I've seen a lot of shit. I've never seen anything like this. This gets us back into like kind of World War II territory, where everything was the time zones were changed, production schedules were changed, men were drafted, women were working. In fact, I mean, the whole social fabric of the country shifted radically over the course of about 6 years with the advent of the Second World War. And then it never really looked back after that, right? So whatever's going to happen during this time, it'll be different, and it'll never. The world that we're living in now will never be the same. And there may be a return to basketball, or there may be a return to some of these spectator sports, but whatever is around them, whatever kind of social game is around these things will be very, very different. Very different. How can they not be after we go through a situation like this? I mean, even let's say, for instance, I'll play this out in a very light kind of way. Let's say, for instance, this is a 30-day thing. Let's say there's the testing and all the other stuff that goes along with it. And 30 days from now, they say, "Ooh, boy, we really dodged a bullet there. We really dodged a bullet there. Thank gosh, we've really dodged a bullet. That was great." And after 30 days, people are like, "Oh, geez, can't wait for the NBA to get back on. Oh, I can't wait to be able to go down to Kroger's and get some good fucking toilet paper," right? And it may make people appreciate the time on the other side of this, quite possibly. Okay, quite possibly. But that's best case scenario. And I hope I'm wrong in some ways, but I don't see that happening at all. So that brings us to the current time, the current moment, and then what are we going to do about it now? And how are we going to get through this quote unquote time where there's no time? I mean, think about it. Everything has come to a standstill. Come to a standstill. There's no time. Everything's frozen, right? Tick, 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 stop. Capricorn rules time. And we've been talking about this again for quite a while now. It is the original ruler or the original deity associated with Capricorn was Kronos, creator god. And we get the word Kronos, chronometer. There's CRONUS and then CHRONOS. And they're both related to time, right? They're both very much related to time. Let's get into some astrology. Let's find out where we are now. So this is now, and we're looking at Fredericksburg, March 15th, 2020. Chimed on at turned on at 7:44 p.m. And that descendant's probably about it's probably about 28 now, which means my natal sun is right there on the ascendant. Let's look at what we've got going here. Let's take a temperature. So let's start with all the placements of Capricorn. There's the South Node. Oh, tonight, look at that. 1 degree Capricorn, part of fortune. South Node in Capricorn, Mars in Capricorn. And then here we have Pallas at 20 Capricorn, Jupiter at 22, Pluto at 24, and Saturn about ready to launch into Aquarius for a brief period of time. We're going to get a taste of that, no matter how brief it is. So just to review some of the things that we've been talking about here for a while, the South Node in this stellium, and when we have 3 planets or more together in a sign, that is called a stellium, okay? So the South Node in Capricorn, the South Node in general represents a vulnerability. It represents a vulnerability. It represents to some degree weakness or atrophy, something from the past that is a ghostly echo with whatever it is we need to experience and manifest in the present. This is fertile ground. This is the fertile ground of now. This is the dead ground of the past with the South Node. In some ways, because they are lunar, and when we think about the lunar effect, we think about things like tides. So the true node would be this is where the tide is in one's life. The South Node is this is where the tide is out, theoretically. It's moving this way, right? The node here is moving this way. The water, the energy, the spirit, right? The cosmic pulse is moving towards you. On the other side, with the South Node, it's moving away from you. Okay? Just remember that. So if we're looking at this aspect and it's moving away from us, and it has been heavily weighted, defined, and determined by the stellium with which it's traveling in, that it is defining and has been defining ever since it went into Capricorn, what, about a year and a half ago, the downside of the Capricornian experience or the Capricornian situation. And we've seen it. We've seen government overreach. We've seen government institutions do pratfalls. We've seen corporations do their absolute best to band together in order to create a corporate government hyper reality, and it actually not working as well as they'd like it to work in some ways. So we've seen this, but it also represents this moment of Chronos. And with all these Capricorn planets, all these Capricornian entities right out in front of it, and what it's been doing for the last year and a half is that it has been essentially touching Saturn, Pluto, didn't touch Jupiter, new to the story, didn't touch Mars, new to the story, but Mars and Jupiter did touch it, right? Mars and Jupiter did cross the South Node. And so each one of these planets has had contact with the South Node since the South Node went into Capricorn. And each and every one of those points of contact has shown that there is this sense of this part or this story or this collective narrative being behind us. And as a result of that, what have we seen? We've seen these entities and these agencies do their very best to define and determine what our so-called reality in this third dimensional plane will look like and be. And what we're seeing now is the most extreme version of that. Okay? It's the most absolute extreme version of it. So where is the action? You know, where is that point of the other? And it's right here. And I've been talking about this now for the last year and a half, which is the true node in Cancer. And what is that all about? That's about caring. It's about nurturing. It's about feeding. It's about growing. And if you've been following the pulse, if you've been following the cosmic pulse here, in understanding this, that these are the values that we need to build into our lives, because this is what happens with the nodes. There are teachers. There are cosmological teachers. And if you've been doing that, then you have been nurtured and supported. And you have been nurturing and supporting others. And that this down here will look like a, how do I say this? A flat, an absolutely flat, two-dimensional projection of the world. Because what you will come to know is what is valuable and right and true about this aspect, which is all about this reciprocity, the masculine and the feminine, action and non-action. What else? Masculine and feminine, emotion and the mental body. It's all here. It's all part of this reciprocal relationship. And now the clock is ticking. We've only got 4 degrees left of this, which is the end of May. And at that point, it's going to go into the sign of Gemini. And what do we have right there at 29 Gemini? It's going to be something I'm going to talk about tonight. This is Betelgeuse. This is Betelgeuse at 29 Gemini. And if you guys have not been following what's going on with Betelgeuse, it's very interesting. It might actually be playing a much larger role in what's going on than perhaps even the coronavirus might be. I'll talk about that more. So you've got from now to the end of May, right here, with the true node in Cancer, to understand something at a very fundamental level. And the fundamental level, the fundamental thing that you can hopefully understand is you got to take care of things, right? You have to take care of business. These entities over here are not going to do it for you. And in fact, what they're going to do is they're going to create a hyper reality that says that, God damn it, you're going to have to depend on us and you're going to listen to us, because we're the ones that are controlling every single thing now, from the amount of toilet paper that's in your store to where you're going to congregate to how many people you're going to be able to congregate with, and even for how long that's going to be taking place. And I tell you, this is a lonely place to be. This is a lonely place to be up here, because in the face of all this, this is like that guy in China that was like doing that dance with the tank. Because everything about this now, this is almost like the forces of Sauron, and they've assembled, right? They've assembled. Why have they assembled? Because this part of their reality is vulnerable and weak, and they want this part of their reality, which is theoretically our reality, to be dependent upon them in times of uncertainty and weakness. This part of so-called reality, if you've been taking it rather seriously or to heart, it means that what you've been doing is that you have been realigning your values over the past year and a half. And hopefully that's taken hold of you, and it's rooted somewhere inside of you, so that you know that on some level you can respond as somebody who is sovereign in their lives, apart from these entities that want to define and control the dominant paradigm through whatever narrative they want to do it, whatever narrative they want to unspool. You've got to be able to disentangle from that, and get right into the heart of that, right into the heart of this thing, the true node in Cancer. And if you're there, if you've been working on this, and I know a lot of you have been, and you know, the thing about it is that it's not just, you know, oh, do I have enough food in my pantry? Oh, do I have enough savings in my account? You know, do I have enough litter for my cats? Right? It's more than that. It is a self-sustaining signal. It's a self-sustaining matrix of sorts inside of your own experience. And then it grows. It absolutely grows, and it takes root, and it impacts others. Cancer is a sign that is connected to water, and we impact each other, right? Dissipative structures. We are dissipative structures within the field of osmosis in each and every one of our own experience. And when we do this and we put our self-care and we really want to nurture and care for others, it changes us and it changes our experience. And as we do this, this becomes even more kind of stultifying and robotic and Gollum-like. And then we see it in ways that become surreal. I mean, what I've been witnessing is just utter surreality. And I watch these people go through the motions, and it's like, yeah, they may be really caring or well-meaning people. And, and the coronavirus may be one of those things where it could, mutate and become radicalized, and the next thing you know, we're all hacking and hewing, and the doomsday is upon us. I have different thoughts about that. So maybe on some level the care is warranted, their care and their concern is warranted, but there's more here. There's more, and I can see the more that's coming. Over here, what do we say? We can take care of ourselves. We don't need to be taken care of. We don't need to have our needs met from these oligarchic superstructures. One of the things that really jumped out at me is that they are going to have a vaccine for this thing, okay? And they probably already have it. I mean, let's be real. They're not going to be running around a year and a half from now, say, oh, we told you to take a year and a half. No, they've probably already got whatever this thing is. And whatever this thing is, maybe the vaccine actually takes care of business and makes people better. Who knows what else comes along with that, right? Or maybe whatever this thing is isn't all that terrible on some level. If you're young or you're decent health, decent immunity, you fight it off. But the vaccine could come right in and say, oh, look, we saved all these lives. Well, what is that going to do? That's going to end the debate for vaccines from here on out. Right? So if over here we're saying we don't need to vaccinate, we don't need you to tell us that vaccinations are important for us or they're important for the world at large. And thank you very much. We'll opt out. We'll opt out of this. Now, all of a sudden, you have on this side of the equation coming up with the virus, the so-called virus is going to end civilization as we know it. And then the vaccine that they'll create, and have already created more than likely, that they'll bring into the discussion. And will that allow us to have an open discussion and debate about the efficacy of vaccines moving forward? The vaccine that saved the fucking world, right? The answer to that unequivocally would be no, because then as a quote unquote vaccine denier, how could you ever deny them ever again? Look what it did. It saved the world. Oh, well, that puts an end to that conversation now, doesn't it? Get back in your box, boomer, vaccine boomer. Well, let's say, for instance, you're like, you know what? I've really done a lot of research and a lot of studying on this, and I want to take care of my own health. I want to have a sovereign relationship and connection with being able to sustain my body and my mind and my spirit. So I've looked around, and guess what I found? Well, I found that there's some very interesting things that can keep me healthy. Things like colloidal silver or things like nanoxide or whatever these things are. You know the list. You guys are sharp. You've got your own pharmacological world down. You've got it. I know you've got it together. Right? So what are they doing now? Jim Baker. Oh, Jim Baker, you can't sell this silver. It's not going to work. In fact, you're endangering people. Alex Jones. He can't sell his toothpaste. Now, the toothpaste that has colloidal silver and hydrogen peroxide, and no matter what you think of Alex Jones, right? He can't sell it anymore. You see what's happening here? Because the threat is such an imminent and dangerous threat that anything outside of the corporate government sponsored narrative will not be allowed to be a part of the debate and the discussion. They're determining what is good and not for you. You see what's going on here? And it's because people are waking up. People are waking up. They want to take their lives back. And you know, we're being given a really tremendous opportunity. Let me just say that right now. We're being given a tremendous opportunity to take our lives back. Why is that? Well, for instance, they've decided that they're going to end all these distractions for at least 14 days. So what are a bunch of sports fans going to do when their sports are unplugged? Where do you think their attention is going to go? What are they going to learn about? If you're somebody, if you're a sports fan and you haven't gone down the rabbit hole, personally, you're probably not listening to my show. But if you know somebody that is, you may want to give them a few things. You may want to give them a few tidbits. Hey, while you're sitting at home and working from home and waiting for them to come door to door to test you, maybe you want to spend some time learning about a few things. How about that? Why don't you do that and say, here you go. How'd you like to learn a few things? I just thought I'd throw this in your direction. I mean, come on, you're not watching March Madness. You have some time in your hands. Okay. Put on the glasses. But we've been waking up. And this, in many ways, is the response to the wake up. This is what we're dealing with. And look at all this. These are the forces of Sauron, man. They have assembled. And let's just, again, I talked about this last week, you know. I talked about with Mars coming in here, and within 3 days, what are we talking about? We're talking about Tuesday, Wednesday with the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, and then the Mars-Pluto conjunction this week. These are heavy energies. Heavy energies. Not only that, but tomorrow the moon will also be in Capricorn. And it's this third quarter phase of the moon, right? It's not quite balsamic. It's not quite there yet, but it's gone 3/4 of the cycle. And to me, it's like this is a moon where things are being kind of put to bed. This cycle's where things are put to bed. This is a cycle where things are kind of wrapped up in some ways, right? Because you think about the process or the cycle of the moon, and by the time it gets to being balsamic, just before it's new, it is done. It is done. The work is done. So this is the wrapping up of the work. Okay. This is sort of like the big event. The big party was the full moon. It's like, yeah, man, full moon. Let's party, right? When I was a kid, not a kid, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. They used to have these full moon parties in California with these raves. And they have these full moon parties. They go out like the beach or places like that, and they'd have DJs spinning, and it was a really I never went. But I used to go to some of these kind of rave-like events, these electronic music things. So that was my thing. But I didn't go to the full moon parties. They really weren't playing my music. But it was a cool time, right? Wouldn't it be great to have some full moon parties now? It's like that whole thing has just gone away. It's just gone away. But would it be great to have some of that magic now? Shit, you wouldn't be able to meet with more than 50 to 100 people, let alone have a full moon party. So that's the party. And this is, as the party winds down, this is when they're putting the dishes away right here. This is when they're cleaning everything up right before it goes. So this is a wrap-up phase. And when we get the moon in Capricorn hitting all these planets again over the course of the next 48 hours, what do we know about the moon in Capricorn? The moon in Capricorn is absolutely judicious and at times, and again, I'm not saying that you people who have moon in Capricorn share these traits and tendencies. I'm just giving you some general kinds of touch points that it can be very judicious, very what's what I'm looking for, ceremonious, and dutifully austere. Dutifully austere. The moon in Capricorn does not have any emotion attached to it at all. So we're going to be going through a phase here, which for the next 3 days is devoid of any emotion coming from these Capricornian, Saronic, archonic entities. It is going to be, sorry, tough love. This is the way it is. Moon Capricorn style. Get ready for that. Get ready for that. Because the moon also is how we nurture, right? We nurture. We have our needs met, whether they're emotional needs, physical needs. So when the moon comes into Capricorn, it is not very nurturing. But it will tell you which Walmart to go to in order to go get your food from the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. And oh, by the way, you better be ready to have your temperature checked before you walk through those doors in order to get your archonic food with a limit based on what you can and cannot buy amount wise. Okay. You think I'm paranoid? Just wait a few days. This is the moon that I'm talking about. Well, it's like, okay, Robert, well, what do we do? What's practical? What's the practical thing, Robert? Well, the practical thing probably would be to make sure that over the course of the next 48 hours, maybe 24 hours, depending upon where you are, you've got enough gas in your car and whatever food you can get together and enough water that you can get together so you don't have to go trudging over to whatever store or Walmart super FEMA center that is out there and not have to go through that. You want something practical? There's your practical, okay? There's your practical. Well, we got the practical, then what? Now what are we going to do, Robert? Now what are we going to do? That's all well and good. I've got some food to last, but now what? Now what? Well, that's a good question. You got to have the right mindset. The right mindset is critical. It is critical. Which means, number one, you can't lose your shit. Number one, you got to practice being cool, right? You got to just practice this. Number two, you've got to think about and feel about what it is that you need. You've got to be listening now. This is a really important piece. You got to be listening right there. When I say listen to other people, listen to yourself. You don't want to be somewhere a week from now, 2 weeks from now and go, shit, I should have done that. Trust me, you don't want to be that person. Shit, I should have done that. Whatever that shit I should have done that thing was, right? So you got to listen. You got to be in the moments. In the moments. And trust me, when you're in the moment and you have a sense of being okay, you have a sense that that you are eternal. That's the other thing here, right? I mean, a lot of this is really based on all this kind of root chakra shit. When you get down to that south node in Capricorn, man, that's root chakra material. Even though it's not like Taurus, it's an earth sign and it's deficient earth. It's like, oh shit, if I just had more money, or if I just had this, if I just had that, if I just had this, I'd be so much better. I'd be so much together. Right? Oh, shit. I'm not prepared for this. Well, you know what? Even the most prepared person, I guarantee you, even the most prepared person during a time like this isn't really prepared. They're not prepared. One of my favorite sayings of all time was by Mike Tyson. I wish I had Mike Tyson. I wish I could do Mike Tyson. Maybe I can. Is this Mike Tyson? I wish I could do Mike Tyson. I actually like Mike Tyson. I've always wanted to meet Mike Tyson. Anyway, he said before guys would get into the ring with him, This is the old Mike. He said everybody has a strategy until they get hit in the mouth. And I thought, oh man, that's really great. That is really great. So what are you going to do when you get hit in the mouth? Right? That's what it's about. You get hit in the mouth, it's like, okay, now what do I do? Right? Having a strategy is not bad, but everybody's going to get hit in the mouth at some point in time. So then what? Right? This is where you're going to have to really have the right mindset. The right mindset. You know? And again, I don't want to be flip or hit you with some hard knuckled hyperbole, but it also brings back the movie Platoon, where Tom Berenger is talking to what's his name, John McGinley, and he says to Tom Berenger, he says Bob, I got a real bad feeling about this, Bob. He says, just like let me get out of here. I got a real bad feeling about this. This is this big assault that the Viet Cong are putting together. In Tom Berenger's character, Barnes, he says, Red, we all got to die sometime. Right? I mean, really. And this is where we're at, right? This is where we're at. We all have to die sometime. And I'm not saying you're going to die. I'm not saying you're going to die, but you got to be thinking about this. You got to be thinking about the eternal quality of your soul. It's just the way it is. You know why? Because if you understand that, then none of this stuff is ever really going to get to you. It's not. This is why the Christians love Jesus so much. This is why they have and love this idea of the afterlife. And you may just say, well, that's a spiritual soporific. It's a nice little fairy tale to get them through something. There's no atheists in foxholes. So one of the things that you can do prep wise, you got to get right with your spirit. You got to get right with your spirit. This is a good time to get right with your spirit. You're probably going to have 2 weeks to really get down and get right with your spirit. What a gift. What a gift. Right? You can meditate, you can write. If you're really into inspirational literature, if you're into the Bible, man, it gives you some good time here to really, feel that thing and just say, I'm going to be guided no matter what. You just give it away. I'm going to be guided no matter what, whatever I need to do, whether it's in this world or the next. I got a path. And I don't know what that path is, but I'm sure we're open to being shown that path, right? So now this is not going to get into your head and psyche as much as you think it could or might. So again, it's another level of the nurturing aspect we've got going on here. Nurturing your body, nurturing your mind, nurturing your emotions, nurturing your spiritual self. This is so important. So important. Because this is going to be a big week. This week is going to test us. And this whole transition of Mars, or the transit of Mars across these planets, are going to really test us as well. I'm going to get into some more of this. Let me give you some dates here that I think are significant. And I want you to know that I'm really not a doom and gloom guy. I'm just not. I have a real strong belief in our ability to step up, really step up and transform and transcend our experiences, our circumstances. I have a very strong opinion about that and belief about that. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. Let's get into this. All right. So this is where we are tonight, the Ides of March. So by late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, we have the transit of the moon into Capricorn, which will essentially cross everything. Somebody's trying to get a hold of me. Every day is good to have, Richard's chiming in about death. Thanks, Papa Bear. Right here. So we're really looking at from late Monday through Friday when the moon is transiting across Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn. This is a big week. Mars is right here at 20. So we know that Jupiter is at 22, which is going to expand the power of Mars right here. 22, 22, right? 22, 22. Then we have 29, which is 11. These are very interesting numbers for where we are, right? 2020, we have 22, we have 22, which is embedded in 2020. Then we have 29, which is 11, which is half of 22. So I would say that the big day really is going to be Friday, the 20th. And then we have that moon in Aquarius. So we've got the sun at 29 degrees, the final degree of Pisces on the 20th, with Mars at 22 and Jupiter at 22 and Saturn at 29. So we have, here we go. Let's just do it again now. So we have 29, 22, 22, 29, and 20. They're all variables. Friday's a huge day. Friday's a significant day because on Saturday we move into 0 Aries, which is the spring equinox. It's a very powerful time. It's a time of rebirth. But this year, just like we've seen with everything, it's all been delayed and canceled. The Chinese New Year canceled. Easter will be canceled. Think about that. And even the spring equinox and the joy, the theoretical joy that it brings to our lives, simple joy, simple pleasures. I was at the hardware store over the weekend, and every year the Tractor Supply, they bring the chicks and the hens, the little chicks and the little ducks in, right? Little things like that, which remind us of the gentleness and the innocence and the potentiality for rebirth. And this year, rebirth will be delayed just like everything else. It's very powerful realization around that, right? So this is the day right here. This is the day of days, that final degree, the 29th degree of Pisces, where the end of the age, I believe the end of the age occurs. Why is that? You look right down here, and what do we have? We have on the 22nd, Saturn at 29. And then on the 23rd, we have Saturn at 0 Aquarius, right? So we've been witnessing and watching the shutting down of the West. It is undeniable. If you don't see it, you're absolutely blind. It means it's the end of an age. We are ending the frickin' Piscean age. It's right there, right? It's right there. There's the moon in Aquarius, and it's beginning to usher in Saturn, which is right there. Boom. We're going to be living in a different reality. We already are. And Mars playing its role. This is very martial across the board here. Across the board. Then we're going to have Mars conjunct Saturn right there in Aquarius. This is going to be a very interesting. What is it, the 31st? You got Moon in Gemini. Look out for this day. For damn sure. It's like if we're still under a quarantine by then, extended quarantine, you think people are going to be digging this? They're going to be restless. They're going to be so freaking restless with the Gemini moon and the sun in Aries and a Mars Saturn conjunction in Capricorn. I'm sorry, Aquarius. I mean, I'm even wondering if the internet is going to be the way it is, right? I mean, think about this. Think about if you're like a corporate controlled entity, or you're an entity that is invested in corporate control. Do you want people like me talking shit about where we are and where we're headed? Do you really think that they want to allow people to talk about things like colloidal silver or turmeric or rife machines? And if they've already established control over the physical world, which they certainly have, and will assert some more control as the days move on, then what's next? Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, absolutely. They'll be okay. They don't want to close all the exits at once. Trust me on that. But they'll close the exits one door at a time. One door at a time. And then what are you going to do? What are we going to do? That's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because they know ultimately, I think they know. They've run their computer simulations and their game theory. They know that at some point people are going to lose their shit. This is it. They're not going to be able to be holed up for 10 days, 14 days. There's not. That's not how we here in the West or in the United States are built. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because we have a variety of lifestyles here. Some people like to go out and mountain climb and bike ride and ski and all those things that make them feel alive. Those things are not so bad. There's some people who base this time of year around baseball and Little League and their kids and their community and the people that they can hang out with and have fun with. And that's not there. Do you think that you're going to just sit idly by after they've had essentially their seasonal ritual rescinded, taken from them? Yeah, I don't think so. Then you have people who don't have such great I wouldn't say great, but let's just say you have people that have much more mundane activities like going to malls, going to movies, going bowling. Do you think that they're going to like sitting around? No. This is where it's going to get really, really interesting. This is where the rubber hits the proverbial road. Here we go. Take advantage of it, though. I mean, I really think this is a good time to take advantage of things. So be with your kids. The kids are home. True note in Cancer. Be with them. Hang out with them. It's a good time. It's a good time to really bond, man. Figure out what's important to you. Figure out what's really important. All right, let's look at some of the other players. Mercury's gone direct. It's at 29. Speaking of that number, Saturn's at 29. A lot of high vibrational numbers. We still don't have any air. We're still like kind of, fighting and gasping for where's the air? The air has been sucked out of the West, right? There's no air. We're not going to get any air until Saturn goes into Capricorn or Aquarius, and that's going to even limit some air. Like we're not going to get any relief on the air front until Jupiter, Mars will go into Aquarius, and that's fiery air. That's the activation of radical air. Mercury's going to take a while to get to Gemini. We're going to get Venus in Gemini. That's not too far away. But then it's going to go retrograde. That'll be interesting. There's just no air here. Still, no air. Don't forget to breathe. It's also really interesting about coronavirus and how the coughing and the hard coughing and the issues with the lungs. Astrologically, there's the lungs of the universe now are really constricted because there's no air. We got Mercury moving forward. Thank God. 29 Aquarius. A touch of genius right now with 29 Aquarius. We got a Mercury sextile to Uranus out of sign, but a very interesting sextile. This is where things can really come to you. Flashes of insight. And listen to them. Allow your mind to play with things. Allow your mind to become like a linear accelerator in your own life. All right? Ramp up. Allow these energies to ramp up. Don't be in fear, but allow them to ramp up so you can make connections and see things. Okay, it's very important, especially over the course of the next couple of days. Even with Mercury moving into Pisces, it's still going to be sextile Uranus. It'll be a bit different. The modality will be different. It's more intuitive knowing than it is sort of, practical, didactic, ontological kinds of knowledge, right? We've already had the sun move past Pisces. Neptune rather, and in a few short days, it's going to be conjuncting Chiron. That'll be interesting, right? So that's going to be just right on the equinox, and this, Aries is the military. It's martial, and we're going to have the Sun conjunct Chiron. Is this going to be the arrival of troops, law enforcement? What's going on here? What's going to happen with guns during this period? This is another thing that I've been hearing chatter wise, is that in this this act that Trump passed, that local city and state municipalities are essentially empowered to do what they believe they should do. And there's Joliet, Illinois. The mayor of Joliet, Illinois, has said basically that during this crisis that she's going to make sure people turn in their firearms. How about that? We might see some of that. We might see some of these local, state, municipalities, principalities do something around guns. I would not surprise me. Not with the Sun Chiron conjunction. So we're talking about 10 days from now. And all it takes will be one outbreak of somebody who is either on the edge, over the edge, or has been enlisted to portray somebody who is on the edge or over the edge, and go to a Dollar General and do a shoot 'em up for toilet paper. Okay, there we go. This is a bit of a tinderbox right now. And we've got the Sun getting ready to move into Aries, very martial, extremely martial energy. And what's it going to be doing throughout its run through Aries? I'll tell you what it's going to be doing. Square, 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 square. So we're going to have very intense energies now, individual energies, right? That's what Aries represents, squaring off against all the Capricorn entities and energies that are going to be present. This is conflict. This is conflict-oriented energy and conflict-oriented material. At some point, there are going to be people that are just not going to be liking what's going on. And believe me, the people that have been crafting and cultivating their response are well aware of that. Well aware of it. Now, you don't want to be one of those knuckleheads, trust me. You don't. And at the same time, it's almost inevitable. It is almost inevitable that some form of martial conflict is going to occur through this time. And I'm just giving it to you the way it is. It's right here. It's right here. You can see it. Now, let's just hope we could have all one kumbaya and all pull together and all do that thing. But there's a version of that exists, right? And the version of the kumbaya and all pulling together is this version of it. You go and do the right thing. You stay home. You don't travel. You don't complain. You shut the fuck up. You go over here. You get your temperature tested. And when the time comes, you get the vaccination, and we'll all pull together as a nation, and we'll all sing kumbaya. That's the kumbaya story. It's not over here, because this is not part of kumbaya. So I don't want to do that. I'm not sick. I don't want to get tested. I don't need a vaccine. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I'm sitting this one out. Thank you. You want us to stay home. I'm sitting this one out. Thank you very much. That's not part of the kumbaya story. Why? Because that's not what the plan is. You've got to follow the plan. You have to listen to Dr. Anthony Fauci from the CDC, who's about this tall. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I'm not heightest. I've had a number of not so tall people in my life who've been very good people. Because we all know we can trust the CDC, don't we? Yeah, they're our friends. They're our buddies. Okay, we got a Mercury quintile to Venus. This is good. I like the quintiles. Genius. It's a genius effort. Whoa, now it's coming in. Whatever that is. I want to talk a little bit about Betelgeuse. Let me show you something here. Why are we doing what we're doing? What is really going on? Is it just about a virus? Is it just about a plague? Or is there more to what's going on? Why are all these CEOs stepping down? Why are all these so-called stars being tested and found to be positive with coronavirus or some other perhaps malady? People like Elton John, or people like Madonna, or Tom Cruise, or Tom Hanks. Or are they all just pedophiles that are guilty and busted? And this is all part of it. This is all part of just trusting the plan. Are they bugging out? What's going on here? Well, Betelgeuse has been flickering off and on and looking like it might be headed towards a massive supernova. So sometime in the next 100,000 years. Well, there are people that have been looking at Betelgeuse and kind of shaking their heads a little bit. Like, what is going on there? Right? What is going on? So are these possible explosions. I've got the Betelgeuse explosion. It says here, the eventual explosion explains why astronomers got excited when Betelgeuse started dimming dramatically in 2019. The 11th brightest star dropped in magnitude 2.5-fold. Could Betelgeuse have reached the end of its life? Well, it already would have happened already, right, theoretically. While unlikely the idea of a supernova appearing in the Earth's skies, unlikely the idea was caught the public's attention. And now new simulations are giving astronomers a more precise idea of what humans will see when Betelgeuse does eventually explode sometime in the next 100,000 years. With all the speculation about what a Betelgeuse supernova would look like from Earth, University of California, Santa Barbara astronomer Andy Howell got tired of the back of the envelope calculations. So he's got apparently sometime in the next 100,000 years. There's a bit of a difference here. 2019, December to January 2019. Let's see, December, January 2019, December 20. Look, okay, so we have the dimming. There's the dimming. There's no need to worry about the stellar explosion. A supernova has to happen extremely close to the Earth for radiation to harm life. Perhaps as little as 7 dozen light years, according to some estimates. Betelgeuse is far outside that range, with recent studies suggesting it sits roughly 724 light years away, well outside the danger zone. But the supernova could still impact Earth in some surprising ways. For example, Hal points out that many animals use the moon for navigation and are confused by artificial lights. Adding a second object as bright as the moon could be disruptive. It's not only wildlife that would be disturbed either. Ironically, astronomers themselves would have a hard time. Astronomical observations are already difficult when the moon is bright, Hal said. There would be no dark time for a while. Even studying Betelgeuse would be a unique challenge. The bright light would overwhelm their instruments. We couldn't observe it with the most ground-based telescopes or most in space either, like Swift or the Hubble, he adds. Instead, they'd have to modify their telescopes in order to collect far less light. This is quite interesting, given that the true node is getting ready to, guess what? Conjunct Betelgeuse, which is happening at the end of May. Now, has this happened before? Well, of course. Every time we've gone through one of these nodal cycles, which the last one was what 20 was it 2011, and the nodes were reversed, right? They were reversed, and then you'd have to go back to like around 2002. So 2002. Now think about this. This is really interesting. Now in 2002, actually it's 2001. 2001, we had what? We had 9/11, right? And during that time, just after 9/11, we had the true node going into Cancer and eventually hitting Betelgeuse, which, if we look at our post 9/11 world, has been a very different kind of world. And we've talked about 9/11 as being a magical right in a lot of ways. And I don't want to get into that again tonight. But we diverged, right? We were headed towards a certain timeline, and then 9/11 flipped us off back onto this other timeline. It's connected to what happened to Kennedy, and I've written about this and talked about this, and this relationship with Gemini as a result of this. And it really felt like Trump was going to be the kind of the Gemini alchemist wild card, would bring us back onto this other timeline. And he was, and you look at the MAGA stuff, right? And it's making America great again, and all these, weird kind of connections with Kennedy. There's connection with Bobby, Robert Kennedy II, and the vaccine stuff, and then even this weird thing with JFK Jr. and Q. I mean, there's all this weird kind of Kennedy undercurrent narrative with Trump. They're both Geminis. There's those weird pictures with Trump and Rudy Giuliani, who's dressed up like Marilyn Monroe. I mean, there's all this weird kind of, and then you get into the whole Trump and the time travel stuff, and like there's a lot of really high strange around timelines and Trump and Gemini. And even the Back to the Future stuff. I mean, it's all sort of part of this like kind of wild cosmic buckshot. They just got shot, simultaneously as Trump got elected. It's just like it's all over the place. But it's really interesting on some level. And when we went through 9/11, right there, right, the 11 Gemini, the moon in Gemini, Saturn in Gemini, on September 11th, 2001, whatever timeline we were moving away from whatever we were moving away from on the Kennedy timeline side had to be reestablished and re-anchored. And man, I've got through this thing over, under, sideways, down, and the role that Gemini plays and all of that. Like three of the main players in 9/11, Larry Silverstein, Rudy Giuliani, and Donald Trump, they're all Geminis. All of them. All three of them are Geminis. Kennedy, Gemini. Bush, Gemini. Sun, Cancer. Cancer rising. Just two choices. Gemini big. Gemini effect. You're going to have the true node hidden Betelgeuse. You're A, or course, Gemini, Venus in Gemini during that time. This type of or the Betelgeuse. That's what's going on. I don't know what you do. there? Yeah, we're back. It doesn't like dramatic effect, huh? Yeah, it sounds tricky. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chatlandian, for telling me that. Still bad. Well, I got nothing more. I apologize. So I guess it's my time. I guess I'm done with the audio portion of today's presentation. Let me just see what else I have. Hold on. Here we go. Sorry, kids. About that. We better? So much better. That's so much better, isn't it? Yeah. I think we're good now, aren't we? Yeah, we're good. Thank you for alerting me. Yeah, my computer heats up and it gets into this thing right here. And I gotta fix that so that I have uninterrupted, pure, uninterrupted, integrated audio. That's on my list. It's definitely on my list. All right, hey, let me check in with you guys. Look, I'm trying not to be too doomy gloomy here, right? But at the same time, we got to take these things into account. And I'm trying to give you the biggest, widest picture possible using astrology and, tapping in and trying to understand, kind of where things are and having whatever I have speak through me, which happens, works that way. And there are very specific things that you can do, in terms of your own mindset, right? In terms of your own mindset, in terms of your own reality. And I've given you the playbook. I've given you the astrological playbook. We're in a very interesting time. And it's not business as usual. And it is not going back. But I will say this. If and when it does go back and they say, okay, all clear, and you get to go back to your school, or I don't think there's going to be school for the rest of the year, by the way. I think it's done. But let's just say, I don't know, 8 months from now, 9 months from now, provided that the Betelgeuse flash hasn't ended all the circadian rhythmic possibilities on this life, in this planet. Let's just say it's like, okay, we dodged one there, kids. We dodged one. Come on back. My advice to you is to not go back. It's not. No, go back. Thank you very much. You really helped us out. We're good. We like this stay-at-home thing. We were really good. Thank you. You guys can figure the rest of that part out. But we're not going to go back. In fact, we love our kids. They're here. We love working with our kids, educating our kids. We're not going to send them back to school. We're done with that. Yeah. Thanks. You're really helpful. You've shown us another way of life, another way of being. We wouldn't have been able to do without you. Pat them on the back. Okay, you guys go do your thing now. We're going to do our thing. We always have a choice, believe it or not. All right. Let's do some business here, and I'm going to get out of here for the night. So there are a couple things. First of all, I mentioned this on the program with Jay, and I'm going to drastically drop my rates as an astrologer so that I can work with as many people as possible during this time. And I'm going to put it up on my website tonight. I'll work on it tonight. So trust me, I'm not. I'm here. This is what I can do, right? This is what I can do. This is how I can help. This is how I can serve.
And I've had some really tremendous readings with people over the last 4 to 5 days, where we're looking at really deep life stuff. Not just about how you're gonna get a promotion, or what your relationship could look like, or things like that, which are important in life. But there's definitely a deeper kind of level here that is available. So I'm here. I will be here, and I'll be doing readings for folks, and I'll make it a very kind of very easy floor if you want a reading. Okay. So I think it's actually a really good time to get one. The other thing is that I'm going to be putting together some webinars, and I'm going to be working on them tonight and tomorrow. And some of you who subscribe to my newsletter, I'll be telling you about it in the newsletter. Others who don't subscribe, you can go to my website. So I'm looking at about 6 webinars in total. And if you're going to be at home, you may as well enjoy it and do some learning. And again, I'm going to make those very, very affordable for people to be able to tap in. And it'll be some cool stuff. We'll talk about astrology. We'll talk about cosmological stuff. Even things like reading signs and symbols, which I've done already, and have a continuation of that. That'll be, I think, an interesting and providential piece of info for everybody during this time. So I'll have those, and of course, you can also subscribe to this channel, and some of you have, and I truly appreciate the fact that you have subscribed and you do support the work, because it allows me to continue to do what I do and provide programming 5 days a week, from this show on Sunday night through Tuesday and Thursday with 15 minutes of flame, and then the Friday Farcast, where we have really high quality guests, with more to come thanks to Steve Mercer, who's now producing that show. And our next person that we're going to have, that Steve's bringing in 2 weeks from now, is Stefan Verstappen. And Stefan is a great guy. He's really attuned to this idea of community and what we create together, to be able to birth a new world, to be able to birth a new paradigm, where everything that I've been talking about tonight, and the values and the emotional technologies, the personal technologies, the spiritual technologies, that could be the cornerstone and the foundation for such a community. Stefan has given a lot of this thought, and we'll have a really good session as a result of that. This Friday, I'm going to have a Kavena Charlotte, who is a psychic and a medium, and she's going to come on. We're just going to kind of look at the big picture. And Masaki Miyagawa, he'll be on, and he'll have his mega pyramid howitzer, and that's going to be running in the background while Kavena does a kind of a major session live on the show, taking questions from you, Chatlandia. So this is what we're working on here. It's like I made a commitment and a dedication in my life to get my shit together, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, really focus on this stuff. And that is not going to go away. And if anything, I'm doubling down on my commitment to do that for myself and for each and every one of you. This is my affirmation. This is my affirmation of being alive on this planet at this time. And it is not only my affirmation, but it is the mindset and the vibration that I think is vital for each and every one of us. We all have to be, in some ways, an exemplar of this. So figure out where in your own life you can make a commitment. Figure out in your own life where you can grow. Figure out in your own life where you can build your character and do things that are going to give life back to the world around you. It's important, and it's not just because we're on the shelf socially. It doesn't mean that your life and the evolutionary process that you're a part of stops. It just takes a different turn. And we cannot allow the predominant paradigm and the narrative define that. We define that for ourselves. And if anything, I'm here to remind you of that. In spite of or along with the limitations imposed or otherwise in our lives. Please remember this. It's important. It's vital. Keeps you from being a robot. Okay, let me check in with you guys. Thanks for putting up with the audio hiccup. Let's see where we are. I've kind of lost chat. Oh, here we are. Here we go. I'm a credentialed teacher. Yes, look for opportunities. What do we have here? Planning online ideas. Good. Starting a garden. Good. Good, 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 good. Very good. Beverly, I love that. I'll do similar with my clients. Keep the love and healing expanding. Absolutely. 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 Oh, we've got one of our family members, Debisu, has some issues with her space. So let's see who's been running with that. Who's been running with that? Heather. Heather, can you? Is there a link? Is there a GoFundMe for Debisu that we can help her out with? Debisu's an artist, and she's really dependent upon her space. So if we could help her out some way, that would be great. That'd be awesome. So Heather, if you could put that out. If not, I think we'll probably get a link up to her situation on over on the Facebook side of things. Okay, if you want to help her out some. 10, 20, 15, 25 bucks, whatever it is, I'm sure it'll help. Okay, anything else? We got anything else here? Anything else? Any other questions? Thanks, Robert. Chatland. Let's all face our fears. Absolutely. What else? Charles, possibly the template of the universe is a torus electromagnetic multidimensional waves. Wow, I love that. That's a great, great, great image. Let's see. What else? Anything else here in Chatlandia? Anything else? Anyone got a gun to sell? Oh, that's a great online conversation, Rob. Hey, you live in Chicago, don't you? This shouldn't be that hard. You probably bump into a gun in Chicago. Not that you want to. All right. I think I'm out of here. Let's just see what else we have here. Yes, it's on FB. Okay. All right. Go check out. If you're not, let's see, I'm not sure if she receives Go PayPal. Okay. If you have not become a member of the 11th house over on Facebook, even if it's just to be a part of that group, it's kind of worth it, because a lot of Chatlandia hangs out there, and there's a lot of information being passed around, and some of which is like really, really good. So you can help Debisu out over there. I've got to go back on the Facebook. I dropped a couple of nuke bombs there yesterday, and then I had to go do some other stuff. Oh, check out my interview with Jay Widener over on Reality Check. That's his YouTube channel. Jay and I, we totally jammed yesterday, and I just love doing media with Jay. He's really, really intelligent and knows a lot of shit, and it's very alchemical when we get together and do some stuff. So go check that Reality Check show out with Jay, and I'll be back on Tuesday. And of course, we'll be tracking all this, and I'll be doing stuff, and maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I got kind of a big day tomorrow, but if we're going to be in lockdown for 14 days and beyond, maybe I'll extend this out to Monday, and I'll just be doing daily updates on stuff. Okay. All right. You got my commitment. Have your commitment to you and the people that you love, and we'll get through this thing together and be better off for it. All right. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Thank you for being a part of tonight's live stream. And I'll be back Tuesday morning to, I'm sure, a very different reality than it was today and yesterday. Until then, bye for now.